Hi everybody. I am going to do the prep work because my son is off early today, so he gets to cook on the grill tonight when he gets home. But I found some really very nice thick cut pork chops that were on sale the other day. So I'm going to get them ready to go on the grill. And I'm going to do this in 2 steps. I'm going to set them out here on this pan. And I am going to rub some of my coarse kosher salt into them. And yes, I do fully realize that I have Morton's this time. I am out of my Redmonds, but I had this on the shelf, so there you go. Pork is kind of already a salty by nature meat, so we don't really need extra salt to it, but it won't be an overly salted piece of meat by the time we're done, because this is just going to sink into the meat and help do some serious tenderizing. And pork is one of those where, if it's handled correctly, can be just as moist and juicy as a good ribeye steak can be. And my son likes teriyaki a lot, and it's a nice flavor to this pork chop. Sometimes a lot of times I make my teriyaki, but the last couple times I've made it, I don't know if I'm just being distracted or whatever, but it has solidified so much that we can't even get it back out of the jar that I put it in. So I cheated the other day and I just bought a bottle of Lowry's teriyaki seasoning, or teriyaki marinade. And so we're just gonna go that route today and cheat a little. I know I paid a little bit more for it than I would have if I would have just made my own, but there we have it. So I just gave each side a generous rub. I'm going to do the outside a little bit too of this. And as you can see, there's still chunks of salt in there. But that's going to dissolve pretty soon. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these, because I should have started these last night, but I didn't. And I probably would have put them in a bag anyhow, but putting them in a bag helps to speed up the marinating process just a little bit for some reason. You can kind of seal out the air, and it just sinks in a little bit better. So let me wash my hands here real quick. And I will say, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the grilling part on video or not. I'm going to try. I have somebody who's not a fan of being on camera. I'll make a deal with him and tell him I'll leave him off camera as much as possible, but I'll try to get these on the grill later. Otherwise, I will at least show you the end product, at least. Okay, and this is child-proofed. Alrighty. There we go. It's really child-proofed, which I guess in this day and age of never knowing what's been tampered with, that's kind of nice to have, but definitely slows down our process a bit here. So now I'm just going to open this bag and I'm just going to pour some of this on. I'm going to flip, and I'm going to pour some more on the other side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some in the bag massaging, just to kind of get it down in there a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back through throughout the day, and I'm going to try to come back every couple hours or so, and I will flip them over, because of course it's a liquid, so it'll go from one side to the other. So I'll flip them over and I'll massage, and I'll flip again, just to make sure that we're getting as much flavor and even coating in there as we possibly can. So we'll be back this evening and see how far we progress with this. Okay, final decision. We're going to put the pork chops in the oven. Been a long day. We're going to pop some baked potatoes that I have already poked holes in into the microwave. And we've got some cheesy bread in the oven. It's cooking now. First thing I'm going to do is take these pork chops out, and I'm going to pat them dry, get some of that teriyaki marinade juice off. That way when we try to sear it before we pop it in our oven at 400 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes, it will hopefully get a good sear on it for us. And then, although it seems wasteful, do not reuse that marinade for anything else, because now it's had raw meat in it and you don't want to store it and reuse it at all. So what we're going to do with these now is I am going to throw a little garlic powder, a little paprika on, little pepper, and then I'm going to get my skillet going here, and we're just going to sear them each side for about 2 minutes or so, and then we'll pop them in the oven. Like I said, we have to wait for our oven to cool down just a little bit, because of course the cheese bread needs to cook at 425. We need these to cook at 400. And these are extra nice and thick. That's the way we prefer our things to be. Oops, pepper. That's right. Not a big deal with that either. Anyhow, we prefer our meat to be thicker rather than thinner. The thin stuff, it's really hard to get it cooked in short enough amount of time that it's not dried out and tough. So that's just our preference here. Alright, I'm going to move these over. Get our skillet going here. And I'm going to get that flame going pretty high tonight, because for a sear you want your skillet to be pretty warm. And I'm using my cast iron like I normally do for when I'm putting it in the oven, because cast iron doesn't care if it's on the stovetop or in the oven, either way. I just put a drizzle of olive oil in here and a little pat of butter. Mix those together and melt those up. And then we'll get our pork chops in here. Alrighty. Butter is melting right down, so it shouldn't take us very long. Hopefully about the time that goes off, this will be ready. That is our goal. The fact that this doesn't have to sit in the oven for very long on an already busy day is nice. We have supper ready in a pretty short order here. I'm going to add just a little bit more butter to that. Wasn't quite enough for my liking. I'm just going to add one more little pat in here. Oh, as I drop it on my spatula. Hear that butter sizzling. Start feeling that heat. All right, here we go. Like I said, we'll sear these for about 2 minutes on each side before we pop them in our oven here. See how well I can multitask tonight. Heat back down. Pull this out. Woo! Nice. The first time I've ever had cheese bread overflow. And boy, howdy, has it overflowed. There we go. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, pork chops are out. I did do them for 10 minutes. Just took them out of the oven, and now I'm going to pull them out and put them on a platter. We're going to tense them and let them rest for 5 minutes, and then they will be ready to roll. So this is the top side and the bottom side. Smells good enough to eat, so hopefully they will be. Back in a few minutes. Okay, let's untemp these and see what we think. I'm going to go ahead and cut one of these open. Looks to be just right. Nice and juicy, tender. Don't mind my fingers. Perfect.